Hey everyone, welcome back to the Inappropriate Growth Podcast. Today we're taking a sharp turn and diving headfirst into the world of holistic health with a fascinating guest, Mayim Vega. Mayim's journey is unlike any other. She went from the sterile world of NASA computer science to the vibrant realm of holistic healing, all because the traditional medical system fell short for her. Buckle up, because Mayim's got a lot to share about her struggles, triumphs, and the path she's forged to empower others to heal themselves. You're going to love this episode. Let's get it inappropriate. Welcome to another episode of Inappropriate Growth. My name is Paul Angelle. I'm your host, and today I'm very excited to have Mayim Vega with us. And to save me the trouble of trying to explain it, why don't you tell me where you are and how you got there?
Okay. Hello, Paul. Angelle. You pronounce my name perfectly. Thank you so much. Not a lot of people do that. I'm here in the great country of Texas, south of Dallas. I'm kidding. I know Texas is a state, but people joke around. Just we're ready to secede at any moment and stuff like that. So, and I'm actually from California, though. I did an Elon Musk where, I migrated to the country of Texas from California for economic reasons also. I have I have 7 children of my own and two that are kind of adopted slash inherited. We didn't adopt them, but we inherited them from my husband's mother because she became too old to care for them. She adopted them when she was old. So, but she lives right next door, so she could see them anytime. And I'm a homeschool mom. Two of them are already graduated, but one of them actually graduated from college already. He's 20. He's in computer science and cybersecurity, and my second oldest is studying to be a midwife, and my youngest is 4 years old, and I still call her baby. Um, and I'm Jewish, and my name is Hebrew for water, means water in Hebrew. And I was formerly a computer scientist at the NASA Ames Research Center in Moffett Field, California. I believe it has the world's largest wind tunnel over there. And then after I got married, 9 months later, exactly 9 months later, not before, I had my first child. People accuse us sometimes of, oh, you got married. When we first got married and they found out I was pregnant, I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, that's why you got married. Like, yeah, that. No, no, no. We got married. We got pregnant on our honeymoon. Anyways, and then after I had my first child, I decided to become an entrepreneur because I wanted to be with him, because I wanted to raise him. I didn't want to. At NASA, they had really great childcare. It was right next door to NASA, and so I would pump my breast milk and I would go and breastfeed him or drop off my milk, and then go back to work. But I didn't feel right inside. I was like, this is not normal. What animal in nature does this? I need to be with him. I want to be with my children. So I decided to become an entrepreneur and be a stay-at-home, work-from-home mom. And I had I didn't know anyone that was like that. No, none of my family, none of my friends, no one. And my husband's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yes, this is what I want." And I'm a woman of faith too, so I was like, I believe that Hashem, God, can do this. Um, in Judaism, we say Hashem means the name. It stands for the sacred name. So I say Hashem when I refer to God often. So I said, yes, of course. God will make a way. There's tons of people that do it. Why can't I do it? That's my outlook in life. So I became an entrepreneur, and I basically did digital marketing for a lot of high tech companies in the Silicon Valley because that's I was at NASA. It was a good transition. It was an easy transition to do marketing for them, and it was a lot. It's kind of more pressure. It's kind of harder to do that than it was to work at NASA because NASA's nonprofit. It's research based. It was a lot more kind of fun. Not that digital marketing isn't fun, but there's just more pressure. There's more stress. And the stress of starting my own business led me to a health crisis. First of all, I just wanted to say I think this might be something that entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs would be interested in knowing about. So, in my first business, my digital marketing business, it took me 3 years to break even. And I had heard about that. So that kept me going those 3 years. Like, okay, I'm not making any profit yet, but they say 3 years. And I wasn't trying to go for hit the 3 year mark. I wasn't trying to fulfill prophecy by that. But lo and behold, it took me 3 years to actually be profitable. The before that, I was just kind of breaking even, hopefully, or barely making anything. But finally, after 3 years, with no experience, no mentorship, no guidance, just me and faith and hard work and common sense, I finally started making profit, and then I eventually hit 6 figures. But on my way to doing that, I faced a health crisis where I thought I was going to die. I thought I was on my deathbed. I had extreme, pain, migraines that just kept getting worse. And before that time, I don't even remember having a headache before that time. Like I have very easy periods. I'm sorry to go there. As a holistic healer, I talk about very personal things. Okay. So I usually have very easy periods, no migraines, no PMS, nothing like that. And because usually that's oftentimes when women start getting headaches is, when it comes that time. But, nothing. And then all of a sudden, I just kept getting migraines daily, and they just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I was taking, all the over-the-counter stuff, whatever my friends gave me, but they worked a little bit at first, but they stopped working, and it just kept getting worse. I went to the emergency room, and the doctor thought I had a brain tumor, but after running a bunch of tests, they said, "No, you don't have a brain tumor. You don't have anything wrong with you. You just have a bad headache." And they gave me some strong painkillers, and they're like, "Bye." And I was like, wow, thousands of dollars that I spent at that emergency room, and hundreds of thousands of dollars that the doctor spent on their education, the hundreds of thousands of dollars or more spent on the hospital, on all the equipment, et cetera, et cetera. And they could not do anything for me. I was like, that's ridiculous. That's crazy. And that's when I decided to become a holistic healer.
Can you elaborate on that experience and how it fueled a passion for holistic healing outside of yourself?
Well, I basically couldn't find answers anywhere, so I had to find relief somewhere. And so I did, my initial Google research and turned up with some vitamins and herbs that were helpful for the short term, but they didn't really address the root cause. So I knew I needed to keep studying, and I did. And I studied at one school, and I didn't feel satisfied at that school, where I took the certification in nutrition and herbalism and holistic health. I didn't feel satisfied yet. I felt like there was more. So I kept studying. I studied orthomolecular nutrition with Dr. Andrew Saul. He's not a medical doctor, but a PhD, but he studied the works of Dr. Linus Pauling, who is a 2-time Nobel Prize winner and a pioneer in the field of orthomolecular nutrition, which is basically megadose vitamin therapy. And that was very revealing and very helpful to my healing journey. And also something that I studied in my first school, which is the Global College of Natural Medicine, and most holistic health schools are kind of guilty of this. So if anyone's looking into a holistic health school to learn, this field, I would say that one of the pitfalls is that a lot of schools, they teach one theory, and so it's kind of like a religion. And so most of the holistic health schools out there, they teach kind of like that everyone should be mostly vegan and plant-based. or vegetarian, like leaning that that way. And that was actually part of the problems. That was actually one of the causes for the problems that I was having when I was suffering and a lot of pain. Is I was on a vegetarian diet and trying to go vegan. So I was trying to cut out the dairy and the eggs that I had been eating. And that is part of the problem. And so that's why I didn't get all my answers in the first school, and I had to keep learning and studying. And I started studying the works of also Dr. Weston A. Price, who is a holistic dentist. He's passed away already, but he's one of the pioneers of holistic nutrition, and he traveled all around the world, and he studied different people groups, native people groups, primitive tribes that still lived primitive ways. They weren't part of modern society yet, and they basically hunted for their food or foraged. So they ate mostly meat, actually, and they ate a little bit of fruits and vegetables and honey and stuff like that. A little bit of dairy, not much, because they didn't raise their own animals to get dairy. It was rare for them to have these types of food, like berries and vegetables and dairy. But what he found was that these native people, they had perfect teeth, they were in excellent health. Women that were in modern society supposed to have menopause already, they were still fertile and giving birth, and they didn't even brush their teeth, but yet they had excellent dental health. Not only did they not have cavities, but they were straight, and they didn't have all the diseases that we have in Western society. And he also found that when these same people started adopting more modern, when they started entering, because sometimes people left the tribes, to enter into modern society. And he found that when they started doing that and adopting modern ways, modern diets, that they started getting the same problems that we do here in the Western world. And that's why we need dentists.
In the last 10 years, I've pretty much something grossed me out to fast food. And I used to eat fast food all the time. And then I stopped it, cut it completely out of my diet. I won't eat anything that comes out of a box. I don't think. I don't like. I'm terrified of processed foods. There's not a lot of businesses close to my house, but there is a slaughterhouse where they have beef and pork, where they raise them, and they let you know now's the time to put in your order. I've switched to the meat that's not going through whatever the process is to get into the supermarket. I raise my own chicken, so I eat eggs. You talk about navigating, there's misinformation online. That's always a problem. But do you have any valuable tips on how to source reliable information in this whole holistic health world?
Yeah. I would say, first of all, don't trust Google or ChatGPT, because their masters, their creators are on the same team as Big Pharma. Um, Even TED Talks, TED Talks used to host holistic healers as for talks, that they've cut back on a lot because I guess Big Pharma got to them, really. That's how I feel. So you have to know who the holistic healers are, and I think, well, that's part of what I do. Is if you join my email list, I send out information that is controversial, oftentimes, and definitely valuable and useful. And a lot of times it will cut through a lot of the fads and the hype and the propaganda that's being pushed out there. I have a new website for my new book, and if you go, it's coming out soon. It's not actually published yet, but if you go there, then you can get on my email list. It's dothatcom. dothatcom. So I would start there, and then, because I could spit out a bunch of um, experts too, and I did already. I said Dr. Andrew Saul, and his website. He has two. He's actually passed away already, but His websites are dryourself.com and orthomolecular.org. Orthomolecular.org is a news agency, and it continues to be run by his staff, his editorial staff, and he's got a lot of different PhDs and medical doctors that are running that site and writing those articles, and they will give very non-standard but reliable information on megadose vitamin therapy. And I think, I know I my title is naturopathic herbalist, but the reason why um, I like megadose vitamin therapy, even though it's not part of herbalism, is because it's cheap and it's available all around the world. As an herbalist, a lot of the herbs that I use on a daily basis, I'm not sure that it's going to be available to some of my students in Asia or maybe even Canada or, places like that. But the vitamins are going to be available everywhere. So I think that's the best source for orthomolecular nutrition information is orthomolecular.org and dryourself.com. And then for herbalist information, I would recommend one of the schools that I went to study herbalism. It's called, well, it's snh.cc. And that is Master Herbalist John R. Christopher's website. He's also passed away already, but his son is an herbalist, and he continues to run it with his team. So I did go to that school for herbalism, but again, they kind of taught that you should be that they basically lean vegetarian. They said that red meat was bad, et cetera, et cetera, and that's certainly not what Dr. Weston Price found out in his research. So for nutrition, I prefer the website of one of my mentors, which is Dr. Josh Axe. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's pretty popular. Him and Jordan Rubin, both of which are my mentors. We were in a business group together, are the creators of a supplement line called Ancient Nutrition. And Dr. Axe has a website called draxe.com, draxe.com. And I believe his nutrition information is very reliable. I think his herbal information is also good, but Master Herbalist John R. Christopher's website at snh.cc, that website, it looks kind of crazy. It looks kind of like old and like why don't they update this website? But it is updated, but it's just the style is so like 80s or something. It doesn't look like a professional website to me, but the information is really, really powerful. And another website that I would recommend. Of course, remember, my website's the best. So get on my email list, dothisdetox.com. But I want to give you a lot more too. The final website that I want to say is, I think it's called nutritionwithjudy.com, nutritionwithjudy.com. And she talks about the carnivore diet, which I think going carnivore, that's when you only eat meat. I think that's become a very extreme movement also. But just like veganism and juice fasting and stuff like that, raw diet, I think there's a time and place for each. Sometimes, especially with autoimmune disorders, like I have hypothyroidism, I found that the carnivore diet helped me the most. And I was on that for 2 months to help me recover. But for people with cancer and other issues, usually I teach them to follow more plant-based diet. So it really depends on what your body's needs are at the time. But I've been seeing the students that I've had lately, is that they've been benefited more doing the carnivore route, actually, or just incorporating more meat into their diet. Maybe they don't have to go strictly carnivore. I have a version of the carnivore diet, which is not as extreme, and it does incorporate a few grains, or actually just rice, just white rice, and also fruits, but still not most of the vegetables unless you need specific herbs for healing. And people have found a lot of my students have found success with the carnivore diet. So
You've amassed impressive credentials in holistic health, but the formal like medical education isn't there. And I don't know if it's a thing, but can you explain how you built the knowledge base and gain the confidence to heal yourself primarily, but now others?
I wanted to trust the modern medical system. You know, it wasn't like I didn't want to. I came to them first. So I just kept studying, and when I wasn't satisfied, I just kept going, and I just kept going, and I just kept my ears and my eyes open, and I continue to do that. And I think that true holistic healers, or actually true experts in any field, must continue learning. It's part of personal development, personal growth, and in any industry that you're in, you have to continue growing, learning. And let me say that as a computer scientist, maybe like I'd say only 10 to 20% of what I learned in my computer science classes I actually used as a computer scientist. And everything else that I used, I had to learn myself. And it's the same thing with almost every profession. There are good holistic medical doctors out there. They're hard to find, but they're out there. But you know what they'll say? They'll say, I didn't learn I didn't learn true holistic health from medical school. They had to learn that by themselves. One of my friends is a doctor. She said, we took one class in nutrition when I was in medical school. Everything else that she learned about anything alternative or holistic, she had to learn herself. And I have medical doctors that learn from me, and people in the who are medical doctors or nurses or medical technicians, different medical fields that are my students. Dentists, I had a dentist, calling me up saying, how did I want to know your herbal formula for this and that I heard you talk about on this podcast. And that just goes to show me that, a medical degree doesn't mean that it should mean, that you are a teacher in health and healing. But unfortunately, a medical degree these days, it means that you are an expert in pharmacology, in pharmaceuticals, diagnosis, pathology, things like that. The doctors that are holistic, they have woken up, and they've seen how much corruption there is, and they're like, I need to learn something better. I have a homeopath that I go to sometimes because I'm not an expert in homeopathy, but he is also a medical doctor. And the first time I saw him, he was asking me about my medical records. I'm like, I'm sorry, doctor, I don't have very much medical records because I don't trust doctors very much. I hardly ever go to them. And he's like, don't worry, I don't trust doctors very much either. And I'm like, but you are a medical doctor. He's like, yeah, but I only became a medical doctor so that I could practice homeopathy freely. And he said, I don't really believe in most of that stuff.
Changing gears a little bit, family first. You mentioned a little bit about your family, but you're raising 7 naturally healthy kids. To me, that's a lot of people. Can you share, are there any practical tips on how you can manage the health of a large family without without relying at all or solely on traditional medicine?
Yeah, my children have never had a single antibiotic. We don't do yeah, we don't see standard medical doctors. And the reason why I've been able to accomplish that is because I studied. It's because I'm confident in what nutrition and herbs and vitamins, diet, nutrition, and herbs can do. And I wouldn't have that. I can't, Google alone is not enough to give me that kind of confidence. So it's all about knowledge. Knowledge is power. That's so true. And without it, we have no choice but to be dependent on people who we believe know more than us. There's not a lot of people that I believe know more than me about holistic health and healing. And that's why I'm confident to be able to heal my children and keep them healthy with the knowledge that I know.
How much of that awareness do you credit or blame for the fact that that your children are homeschooled?
That's why I make sure that I have relationships with like my homeopath, who is also a medical doctor, and my naturopath, who is also he's an NMD, so he's a naturopath. He's also a medical doctor. So I think it's very important. Yeah, I teach my students and my clients. I show them how to find a naturopath or a homeopath in their area. It's not easy to find, but it is important to have an ally like that on your side, definitely, or an orthomolecular medical doctor, also.
You went, I guess, from being a patient to something of a powerhouse. Aruka, am I saying that right?
Yeah, aruka.com. That's my website.
All right,
Aruka.
Aruka.com. That's a success story. It seems to be thriving. What are some of the biggest challenges you faced in building your online platform and helping drive traffic and getting people being able to help people with what I imagine are some pretty diverse health concerns?
The biggest challenge, just time. Because I am a busy mom, it takes time to create content. But I know first of all, the free content that I give on my newsletter or YouTube, stuff like that, it's helping people. I have people that are coming to me and they're saying like, you healed my daughter, or you helped me grow my hair back, or something like that. And because I've already helped them, they're signing up to be one of my clients or students. And so I think that's the most powerful thing that I do. But because of my many children, and I have to help service my clients and stuff like that, um, my time is of course very divided. And I think one of the things that I do to help overcome that is I just try to prioritize, like, every single day, what are the top 3 things that I need to do today? Top, just not too many, top 3 things that I need to do today. And that really helps me going. And also carving out family time, just prioritizing that and saying, I need to have family time, and it's going to be at this time on this day or whatever, and we're going to do this. That's important, because you can't fool yourself into thinking that you're going to be happy or you're going to be successful by sacrificing everything in your life. So it sounds kind of almost opposite, but you have to carve in personal time, family time, to be efficient with your work time. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes absolute sense. And some of the things, I don't know if you're backing into them or just regular, management advice. For example, they tell us never have a meeting last more than 60 seconds, 60 minutes. Over an hour is too long. Never make a to-do list longer than 3 things, because you'll do half of all 5 of them or whatever. But if you have 3 things, that's usually manageable. So there's things that are emerging out of necessity are actually tried and true techniques.
Yeah, and you won't get to the most important things if you don't narrow it down to just 3.
Well,
Yeah.
right, and if you don't plan, the situation plans for you,
Yeah.
and situations are not as properly organized or properly motivated as you are. But you say your students are waking up in terms of holistic health. How do you empower others to become healers themselves?
I think the main way is, number 1, knowledge. Well, for my students, I'll just say students. Number 1 is knowledge, the knowledge that I give them. But I think number 2 is the fact that they have someone who is living and breathing that they can contact and ask questions to, is also very helpful, because it can be scary, um, especially when you're in the thick of something, like, you're facing a health issue yourself, to do holistic things without someone who's done these things before. It's hard to have confidence. It can get really scary during those times. So I think the top 2 ways is through knowledge, number 1, but number 2, through the support that I give. And that's the health coaching model. Is a lot different from the modern medical model, which is, you go to the doctor, he gives you a pill, you take it, and you get better, supposedly. The health coaching model, it's more like you are empowered. You're the champion. You're the athlete. The coach is just there to awaken your inner champion healer. And so the coach empowers you with strategies, and he's also there to root you on. And maybe, he's watching you as you're playing the game. He's saying, hey, that thing over there, you've got to watch out for that. And it's very similar to what I do for my students and clients.
You understand the problem,
Yeah.
you share what a solution might be, and then you coach them,
support them.
encourage
Yeah.
them, motivate them, hold them accountable to actually doing what they need to do to get better.
I said earlier that my first business, it took me 3 years just to break even, right? But with my second business, because I got coaching, because I was smarter, you know,
Right.
I was able to make profit at launch, not after 3 years.
When you have a business coach, you don't. It doesn't take 3 years because if it
Exactly.
does, you have a terrible business coach. Thank you so much. This has been a lot of information.
Yeah, thank you.
There may be some follow-up questions, and I'll certainly forward those to you. For everyone listening, thank you. And Mayim, just know if you're going to grow, chances are you'll probably do something someone considers inappropriate.
Yeah, totally. Thank you for your time, Paul.